Good evening. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Carrabelle City Commission to order. It's Thursday, March 2nd, 2017, 6 p.m. We're at the Carrabelle Municipal Complex. We'll ask Commissioner Allen if he would please say the prayer, and then we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you'd all stand.
Our God and Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together tonight in this assembly to deal with the things that pertain to this wonderful city you've blessed us with. We ask you to be with us in our judgment, our wisdom, and our processing, that we might do that which would be best for all of the citizens of this community, as well as for the future benefit of our lovely city. We're mindful, Father, also of those in our community that are sick, in bad health, and having lost loved ones recently. We ask you to be with them and comfort them and heal them. Bless our country, Father, as it deals with the complex things going on in Washington. We know you rule in the kingdoms of man. We'll appreciate your judgment in whatever you decide to do. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move right on to the consent agenda, and I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda for the February 2nd, 2017 minutes and the attorney's invoice. We just had one invoice for December, I believe it was.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, then we have a motion by Commissioner Mathis. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that's a second by Commissioner Massey. Is there any more discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Okay, then we're moving on to public comment. Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Okay, being no public comment, we'll move to Commissioner's reports. Commissioner Walden, you have a report this evening? All right, then, and Commissioner Mathis?
Yes, I have one thing.
Okay.
I would like to know if we have a law against parking on the sidewalk overnight.
All right, and so we'll, let's ask the city clerk if she's familiar with that, parking on sidewalks. Or is there a length of time, overnight?
Not allowed, not on the sidewalk.
At all?
Anytime.
Anytime, okay.
So people can park on the sidewalks anytime they get there?
No,
They
can't.
there's no, they're not allowed to park on the sidewalk at any time. Okay, not allowed to park, okay, so,
I'd like to have it stopped there.
Enforced.
okay. What do we need to do?
Either Pat can let Chief Huntings know, or Commissioner Walden, the police commissioner.
taken care of.
Okay, we thank you so much. All right. Would you like to say anything else, report anything else?
That's it.
Okay, all right. And please, would you note that in the record that that was discussed, and we've asked the police department to enforce that. All right, Commissioner Massey?
I don't have one.
Okay, and Commissioner Allen?
Nothing at the time.
So you all save it all up for me, and I always have a long report, because I'm doing a lot of
That's
stuff.
how we do it.
Okay, so, well, I did get to do something interesting. I had the privilege to attend an all-day medical marijuana summit hosted by the Florida Association of Counties. And they had such a long host of panelists that it was a working lunch even. And I'm real glad to have that opportunity. The information was educational, it was enlightening. There's still some legislative issues being worked out, and those should be resolved by the end of this session. But as you can imagine, there's a ton of illegalities and ifs, ands, and buts, and we don't have time to talk about it all now. There's no way it could all be covered. We'd have to have a workshop on it to really discuss it. But right here on the home front, medical marijuana is being delivered by courier in Franklin County right now from the dispensary in Tallahassee. Not many people are using it in this area. The city has had a handful of inquiries about planning and zoning for dispensaries, but it's generally thought through all of the people that talked in that summit, and there was a local senator and representative there, it was thought that dispensaries won't set up in rural counties because there just won't be a return on the investment for them. There's just not that many people that require the use of it. But they're already set up in the more populated counties and cities in Florida. Gainesville and Sarasota have enacted ordinances, or at that time, in February 4th, those were two of the cities. There's several cities now. They have ordinances with dispensaries, and but some of the panelists say that it's generally felt now. I'm just delivering the message from that meeting, that it's generally felt that recreational marijuana use will be legalized within the next 2 election cycles. And because of that, right now, the 7 approved Florida growers are right at this time seeking out dispensary locations throughout Florida so that they'll be set up and in position to dispense the recreational whenever, in a few years. And that's the time that our planning and zoning will really need to come into action. But right now, we'll just pay attention to what the future legislative actions are and statutes, and then keep track of what Franklin County is doing with any ordinances regarding dispensary or distribution and usage. Right now, they have a moratorium on it. They're waiting to see further legislation on it. And then on February the 9th, and I'm sure Russell's prepared to report it, I didn't get to read your memorandum yet, but we have good news. On the 9th, Russell, Courtney, and I attended the Northwest Florida Water Management District Resource Management Committee meeting and Governing Board Committee meeting, and Russell and I spoke very briefly there. The Water Management Governing Board awarded the city $851,000 for removal of 53 septic tank systems and construction of central sewer within a portion of the Lighthouse Road subdivision area. And right now, at this time, we have legislative funding requests submitted to Senator Mumford and Representative Beshears for funding to extend water supply lines in that same area at the same time that the sewer supply goes in. So we'll try to attend that legislative session when they're reviewing those budget requests. On on February the 21st, our water clerk attended, you went to, what is that called that you went to,
It's a CCR help session,
and what does CCR stand for?
the Customer Consumer Report.
Okay, and so you completed all of the questionnaires, or what do you do when you go to that
They
session?
just help fill out the report for water quality, which goes out in June.
And so what happened was that we passed our 2016 water quality report for Carrabelle and Lanark. And that's a good thing, and I'm happy to report that the public notices regarding drinking water contamination have not been required by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection since October of 2012. So, things are going good at our MIAX treatment plants. And then on February the 21st at the CRA meeting, we approved the final design for the Marine Street Triangle boat ramp parking lot. And then we began preliminary work on design of off-street parking along Avenue C at the corner of Avenue C and Marine Street. Then I attended the Restore Act Advisory Committee meeting to continue work on their multi-year implementation plan, and those meetings now have been ramped up to 2 per month. The needs assessment is completed, and we're working on project selection criteria. They're going to open an online portal for submitting your projects, and their projected date for that opening is April 17th, 2017 through May 9th, and it will be open only for 30 days to submit your projects. but the requirements to be a qualified applicant are so strict, and the application process is complicated. So most likely it appears that there will be a applicant workshop will be required before submitting the application. And we'll be setting a date for that workshop before the portal opens, and we'll let you know. Gulf County's multi-year implementation plan has been approved, but it had only one large project in their plan. And I'm reporting all of this because I know Ms. Tamara wants to know, and a couple of other people in the audience. There's much more to it than what I'm reporting, but the Gulf County had just one large project, and the reason they're doing that is the fewer the projects in the plan, the quicker the U.S. Treasury approves the plan. It makes it simpler and quicker. And it appears that they're gonna, if you'll have leverage, funding leverage, the higher the funding leverage, the higher you will be rated in the selection criteria. And all of the recommendations, project, everything that's being recommended, anything that happens goes to the Franklin County Board of County Commissioners. They have a workshop on it, a real workshop, and they approve all of that before anything is submitted or any plans or anything that happens. On February the 22nd, I met with the DOC Warden Payne, Major Lynn, and Lieutenant Moses, along with Courtney, City Streets and Road Crew members, and Chief Huntings. And discussion included review of the DOC guidelines and rules regarding community inmate work groups and procedures to be used by their supervisors. And Courtney's going to report more on that meeting. Then on the 28th, this past Tuesday, I met with Jeffrey Lawson and Jason Sutherland of Florida Rural Water, along with Keith Mock, Charlie Painter, and Justin Messer, and Courtney, and where they explained a pilot study that would use peroxide as a pre-treatment to the raw water that's coming out of Carrabelle's well 4. That raw water coming out of well 4 is heavily ionized, full of iron, and it makes it difficult and expensive for the MIAX water treatment to produce good tasting and clear drinking water. So the pilot study will let us know if peroxide treatment to the raw water before it hits the MIAX treatment plant will help the MIAX system efficiently treat that ionized water to meet our standards and DEP standards. And what the objective is that we want to be able to rotate the use of Carrabelle's 2 wells. We have 2 wells here. They call it labeled well 4, which is on the DOC property, and then well 3. And we want to be able to rotate those wells. So, and that's it for me. So if I can find my agenda, we'll move on to staff reports and Mr. Russell Large.
Thank you. So, of course, the big news is the Lighthouse Estates Sewer Project. There was a couple questions the mayor asked that we address. So I'll do that. The first is regarding vacant lots within this subdivision, and yes, the grant will pay for stub outs to serve those individual lots. Now, it would not include an installation of a lift station on those vacant lots, but the stub out will be there. So when they're developed in the future, they'll be able to connect to that stub.
So that stub out is a sewer tap?
That's right.
Okay.
That's
so,
right.
Okay, well, that's very good. That's very good.
And then related to connection fees for existing lots, tap fees, sewer tap fees. I spoke with Christina Coder. She's the project manager with the Water Management District. And just kind of talk through that with her. What she has seen typically on projects like this is that they would waive those tap fees, and that's an incentive for the property owner to voluntarily connect to sewer. So during the grant project, the grant would pay for the abandonment of the septic tank, the installation of a grinder lift station and connection to the city sewer system. All that would be paid for by the grant. If they did not voluntarily connect, at some point in the future when their septic tank fails, they would not be able to obtain a permit to make repairs to that septic tank because sewer isn't available. And at that time, they would have to pay for their own abandonment and pay for their own lift station and connection to the city system. So it's essentially they would get the connection free during the grant project, and that's the point of the project. We want to take those septic tanks offline.
And that's good. The grinder that Keith Mock suggests, that's an expensive. It runs $3,000 somewhere.
More than that, how much are them grinder pumps? They anywhere between $3,000 to $4,000.
So that's a good thing. All right,
That's right.
wonderful.
And the
Christine?
sewer tap's $3,360,
Right.
close to 10 grand.
So it makes sense for the residents to do it during the grant project. We'll be receiving a draft agreement, or the city will, Courtney, in about 2 to 3 weeks, is what Christina indicated. And that would be for our review, the city's review, and it would include language related to the connection fee, so we'll have an opportunity to review that and make changes if necessary. I would also recommend that we hold a public information meeting for those residents. I don't think now is the time to do that or to schedule it. We would like to get some indication if the water part of this project would be funded through the legislature, I think, before we do that. But just kind of a heads up that I think we should hold a public information meeting.
And the water management folks indicated they would give us some time to wait until we find out about the legislative funding request.
Yes, the maximum amount of time that they can provide for this grant is 2 years.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll find out.
And Christine indicated that's what she would apply at this time.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right, the CDBG grant is ongoing. Haven't really heard from Fred at this point, but I expect to.
Fred said to expect a contract in about 2 weeks.
Okay, good.
And we had some paperwork today on the first floodplain notice,
Right. Okay.
whatever that means.
The first advertisement.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, good. And then the DOT Small Communities Grant, we should be hearing on that in May or June of this year. Okay, if there's any questions? Yes, sir.
On the vacant lots, supposing there's a septic tank on a vacant lot that at one time was a house on it or something, would that be covered? And how would you know?
That's a good question. You know, I don't know the answer to that because it wouldn't be necessarily an active septic tank.
Mhm.
I think that's a question for the Water Management District to answer. Yeah.
So I'm just anxious for Sands Park to come along.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I spoke with Courtney briefly about that. Struggling to get the dock contractors to provide some bids on plans that we produced. So I mentioned to Courtney that I'm suggesting at this point that we ask them for a face-to-face meeting and sit down and look at this. If there's issues with the design, I'd like to hear what those might be. But brought them along to provide some bids for those plans. And otherwise, there are other elements to that project, and I think we can move forward with those. I would like to just check with Fred Fox to make sure he's in agreement. I want to make sure that we're following the parameters of the grant.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. And our next is Economic Development Council. Mr. Butler, do you, excuse me. This is Tamara. Waterfront Partnership.
Good evening, everybody. I just handed all the commissioners a copy of our monthly report for covering the month of February for our activities, and also a copy of a handout that I will, let's see, let me get you up to date here. Just want to remind everybody about the cleanup in Tate Sale on March the 18th at 8 o'clock in the morning at Gully Branch for anybody that wants to go and participate in that. And we are continuing to monitor for possible Restore Act projects, as the mayor mentioned briefly. And if there's something that needs to be written up or done with one that somebody has, we'd be glad to help them to the best of our ability to make it fit into the system.
What they're saying, the Dewberry consultant, Alan Pierce, they're indicating that it's going to be one or two large projects, and that folks that have projects, they're encouraging them to please come to the workshop, because if you have a light project, or if there's someone that you can collaborate with or combine your projects somehow to get them in larger projects, that's the time to do it. And all the awards will be awarded to folks that have had experience in managing federal grants. So that's going to stop a lot of folks.
I did that for 40 years, so
Oh, good.
it might just be useful.
Yeah, or they might want to hire you at the county, on the county level, because they'll have to end up managing a lot of the grants.
It's tedious.
Mhm.
Not hard, just tedious. Under the historical preservation part of our report, we had, this is the year that we're attempting to use state money to renovate the building and put in an accessible exit stairs or egress stairs from the upstairs that will be in the back of the old City Hall building. And today was actually the day that we had our pre-bid meeting earlier in February, and today was the day that the bids were to come in. We only had one, and it was over the budget. So we're taking steps to work with that vendor, see what else we can do to get this project accomplished, because we only have from now until the end of June to get the money spent. So
And how much over budget was it?
Just what, 54,000?
It was $50,000 grant, I think it was coming at 58 or 58.
Oh, not too much.
No, not too much, and then probably with some prioritization, and if we could for example, if the city could use work crews to demolish the existing deck behind the building, then we wouldn't have to pay a contractor to demolish the deck. So, or to remove it and put it someplace else, depending on what happens. And things like that. So we're gonna work with them and see if we can get it down to basically 45 is where it needs to be, so. But we've been working with both the architect and getting the plans into the state. The architect at the state level has been reviewing our plans, and he didn't like something we had in it, so we had to do them over again. And you know, the sets of plans are, I mean, the pictures are not that much, but the narrative on how to do those architectural plans is huge. So it's just generally a really tedious experience, but we're going to spend this money, we're going to get it and get our thing done. We wanted to remind you all something I'm sure you know, but that over the last 8 years that we've been there in the building, and I gave you a little spreadsheet indicating that we have raised we've gotten 4 grants for $50,000 apiece that contribute to the restoration of that building, and so we feel like we've kept it together, and the city of course put a roof on it. So between the roof the city put on it and the money that we've been able to restore it with and get the wall sealed up and so forth, I think we've just done made a big help to keeping the building standing and in good shape, and it looks real nice. We get compliments on it every day from visitors as far as the museum goes. And just to skip down my list here, we also are going to start reporting to you our visitor numbers. And actually, these look so low because the fourth quarter of last year, which would have been October through December, we had 405 visitors to the museum. Already by now, we've had more than that this quarter. So this is always our biggest quarter for visitors, the January snowbird season, and then again in the fall. So we're going to start giving you a regular report on our visitors, just so you can kind of keep up with what we're doing. And for any of you that haven't had a chance, we've had a very successful film series over at the City Hall that we've been Senior Center, that we've been putting on Thursday nights, movies that were filmed in this area. And the last one is actually coming up in March 16th, which is a Thursday night. The movies are free. This one's going to be the Apalachicola River, an American Treasure. And we have a special guest, the actual director and cinematographer, Elon Stokes, is coming to talk to people about how they made it and some of the things that prompted them to do it and what it was his vision that made it be such a beautiful movie. So for anybody that's interested, I left some flyers on the back table about that. And the other thing I wanted to remind everybody that we mentioned it last month, but we're actually on for March the 25th for our culture crawl, which is going to be a downtown Carrabelle event. There's going to be history, art, and music and fun all over downtown from 10 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All the stores are going to have some kind of an additional music person or some character or somebody painting art or some surprise event at all the locations in that, from Fathoms to Carrabelle Corner and the Lost Designs over to the Carrabelle, over to Harry's Bar and Carrabelle History Museum. So there'll be free restaurants and there'll be fun and interesting things to see on the street, like real mermaids, yes, and other characters that'll be walking around. Mermaids have to sit in a place and stay hosed off to be good, but we have a couple of lovely mermaids that are going to be here, and the Oyster Man and some other people that will make great picture opportunities for our visitors and so forth. So we think it'll bring a lot of folks to Carrabelle. It's being publicized pretty widely around both the region and up and where the TDC does advertising for Atlanta and Nashville and a couple other places. So hopefully it'll bring us some extra feet out there on the streets to go to our shops and stores and eat in our restaurants and discover what a wonderful place Carrabelle is. So that'll be on the, I had to be careful how I worded the part about characters on the streets, because we have lively characters on the street every day in Carrabelle, but these will be some unusual visitors that aren't just the folks that are here. So just to remind you all about that. Does anybody have any questions? Well, I just continue to urge you to come by and check out what we have going on at the museum.
All right, we thank you very much, Ms. Tamara. And we'll look forward to your visitor reports. You're going to do that quarterly?
Well, I could do it monthly if you want.
However,
Okay. We do it for the TDC quarterly.
Okay,
We'll
that'd
give you
be
that report quarterly.
All right then. Erica, Mr. Butler, did you have anything? Or, yeah, ADC. For some reason, I can't get him worked in there right, but he's not even here now. So he was here, but he's gone. Okay, so Mr. Tim with the Carrabelle Aviation Advisory Board is ready.
Good evening. Everybody's got the monthly report. Anybody have any questions? We had a real busy month. Miranda was out there today getting the fuel system finalized, but she put the keyboard on there and the motherboard. I mean, she came out there with the tools and just tore into that fuel system. It was something. So she's got it fully operational. I got an email right before I left the house here that we can start selling the fuel. So we just need to do a test on it, and I've got a spreadsheet that we're going to track everything with. Probably be Saturday or Sunday before we actually start selling it. But once we get that fuel system, once we do our test, then we'll let the world know that we got fuel. So we expect a lot of that to generate a lot of traffic in. I'm meeting Monday with, I didn't put this in there, but Monday with Tallahassee Approach Control. They're going to help us with the flying and with the air traffic. It'll be an advisory thing. They don't have any jurisdiction, but it'll be an advisory thing. But it'll really help the safety factor and the airplanes coming and going on the ground and in the air. The website, we're expecting a real good turnout because the Facebook website we have has just been getting a tremendous amount of traffic. The mayor's been posting a lot of different flyers on there, and each time we get just a huge response from them. We got a poster that Greg had
That poster there.
and we've sent that around to a lot of the airports in the area, a lot of businesses in the area. So it's a really attractive thing. So we've got a lot of attention from that too.
And then you want to mention the Young Eagles?
Young Eagles from Live Oak, the PAA chapter. They're going to bring 2 airplanes to give free rides to the kids 8 to 17. It's going to be very limited amount of that will be able to fly, so it'll be first come, first serve. And if there's a big enough turnout, we're going to try at another date to have just the Young Eagles come in and get more rides. We only had 2 airplanes to give us, but it's actually going to work out better for us because we're going to have a lot of activity. And the way that airport is, the size of the airport, and what we're planning to do out there is pretty much maxed out. We'll have helicopter giving rides. We'll have the Young Eagles giving rides. Plus, we'll have the traffic coming and going, and we want to leave the fuel station open too to sell fuel. So it'll be pretty congested. So we just hope that we can fly enough of the kids, and we'll be getting their contact information so that, like I said, if we have enough in the future, we'll do another one. We'll contact everybody, let them know, and we'll have a lot more seats available for the next time. That's about it.
Do you have any kind of a welcoming meeting for the Lockheed Dale Club as it comes in and big hoop-de-doo and party?
No, they're coming in at 5 o'clock Friday afternoon. We're going to take pictures and all, but no, we don't have anything planned yet because he wasn't too specific about when he would be coming. We will have an opening ceremony at the event at 9 o'clock Saturday morning.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any questions? All right, well, we're just real happy Miranda was able to get all of that, the keypad and the motherboard installed today, and you'll have your fuel system
We'll
up
have it up there real soon.
We'll be putting that on Facebook.
Yes.
I've already made some ads for it.
Great.
So, doing that. All right, congratulations. Thank you. All right, then we'll move on to Mr. Hartman's report, please, sir.
All right, 3 quick items. One is the mayor asked me to follow up on the airport zoning issue, what the county's doing, as well as mandatory garbage that's making its way, at least being considered by the county. Really no update on either. The county not right now moving ahead on the airport zoning and garbage. They are still they're in discussions with Waste Management and Waste Pro, and just kind of trying to figure out their options and cost and that sort of thing. So the county attorney promised to keep me up to speed on those, and I'll get you the information at the next meeting if anything changes. The other issue was I wanted to ask the commission if we can set a special meeting next week to go through some HR issues. If there's a time that the commission's available next week. Shouldn't be less than an hour meeting, or less. Thursdays are always good. The only issue I've got as far as conflict, but it would be Wednesday.
Well, you all name a time. I can't come on Monday morning.
What time? 10, 11? Okay.
Oh, and I also, let's see, no, I have the Restore Act meeting but that's in the evening. Do y'all want to do it in the morning?
I guess we're saying the 9th at 10 a.m.? Does that work?
That's fine. Commissioner Allen, on the 9th,
March 9th.
on a Thursday, what time did you say?
10 a.m.
Okay.
10 a.m. No problem.
Would you like a motion for that, sir?
Please.
Okay, may I have a motion for a special HR meeting on March 9th at 10 a.m.?
I'll make the motion.
Okay. And we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Allen. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you.
That's all I have.
Okay, do y'all have any questions for Mr. Hartman? And I just wanted to say, when we do find out about what the county, how the county is going to handle their garbage, mandatory garbage if they do, then maybe we'll put it on the agenda and discuss it for ourselves here in Carrabelle. All right. So we'll move forward to.
One other question here.
Okay.
This is for Courtney. I think you mentioned that we've gotten some hardware to retrofit some of the garbage cans. Is that?
We've got a grant to do that, and we're proceeding with that.
And so we don't have it yet?
No, we haven't got the funding yet.
Okay, good, thank you.
And when that happens, we'll probably put an ad in the paper, a small ad, and put it all over our Facebook pages, and ask everybody to help us with that, to get the folks will have to bring them. We'll probably do it right here in front of City Hall. They'll have to bring their containers to us, and right now I have 7 or 8 volunteers to install those kits. So, you know, but they'll have to bring the containers to us.
She said it would be about April, didn't she, when she was at the meeting?
Mhm.
Said it'd be about April.
So we'll certainly let you know when that happens. All right, Ms. Courtney, do you have a report for us?
Yep, my report is for event organizers, nonprofit organizations, or any other volunteers that may be working on a city project. As the mayor reported earlier, we met with DOC officials earlier this month. And just to remind you guys, that no general public interaction with inmate crews are allowed. So if you're working on an event or a project and you're requesting inmate work crews, you need to get with the inmate work supervisor ahead of time and let them know what you're planning to do and give them the directions. No one other than that work supervisor can give directions or anything. For an example, we unloaded some cabinets for Camp Gordon Johnson. Mr. Butler had to get with the work crew supervisor, tell him what he wanted done. He had to leave the premise before they could do the work. So we are going to be tightening down on that. We'll be doing an amendment to the personnel policy so that our work crew supervisors know ahead of time what they're allowed to do for you guys and not to. And then also, me and the mayor and the chief are planning on attending a non-DOC certification course in, I think, June. So that's all I have to report. And just to remind everybody that there's a CRA budget workshop scheduled for March 21st at 10:30.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Courtney? Okay, then, Ms. Keisha, do you have anything?
No, ma'am, I was gonna report on the meeting, but she covered it for me.
All right. All right. So there's no public hearing today, So we'll move on to new business, and item number 1 is discussion of possible action concerning high water bills. And the first person, we have 3 people on the list tonight. The first person is Trish Messick. Would you please state your name and use the microphone, please, ma'am?
Yeah, I'll turn it on, Trish.
Pardon?
I'll turn it off. There you go.
My name is Trish Messick. I live on Highway 67 in Sanborn Road. And my last month's water bill was outrageous. According to the meter, I used 27,000 gallons of water. And at that time, it was very dry. I had no indication of any water leaks. The little meter thing was not running. I checked under my trailer. I checked my faucets, which I had already repaired because I noticed that they were leaking. Changed both faucets out front and in the back. Changed my toilet interior. Bought all new water hoses. So when I got the water bill, it was like, please, there's no way I could have used 27,000 gallons of water in 1 month. There's just no indication of it. Since then, I had, the city came out and tried to do a diagnostic on it. They couldn't do a diagnostic on it. I was told 2 different things. Battery was dead, or they couldn't read a diagnostic on that particular meter because it was an older meter. So they put a new meter on. I asked the worker that put the new meter head on, I said, well, was the thing turning around when you put that after you installed that? And he said, no. Miraculously, if I did have a water leak, it's been fixed. I don't know by who or where, but now I'm not using any water as much. I've been taking daily readings since the 9th of February. I didn't know that I was supposed to submit all this beforehand, but I don't know how you're reading the water meter or how to read the water meter, but it started out with a 0000015 from the 9th of February. I ended up, as of yesterday, at 3:30 with a 00238. Okay. That's what I used from the 9th of February with the new water meter till the 1st of March. Then I got copies of all my water tanks. I would not be standing here had I had a leak, left something running, or anything else. I would absorb. I'd say, okay, it's my fault. I'm not that kind of person. 27,000 gallons, I didn't use 27,000 gallons of water. I'd have waterfront property. You know, I'd have some indication that there was water somewhere. You know, I underlined my bill history and shown where I've had leaks, fixed them, paid them, and everything else. So, help.
I understand your pain. I know I told you on the phone.
Yes, ma'am. I apologize. I was very upset that day.
In 1999, I used 41,000 gallons of water somehow, and my bill was $602 just for water. And then in 1998, somehow 37,000 gallons went through it, and it was $346 just for water.
Right.
I had to pay.
Right.
It's terrible, I had to pay. And then I've got this list here folks that are on payment plans right now. And $934, $238, $238, $473, $366, $450, $480, $310, $714, $200. And they're on a payment plan. And I don't know what to tell you, Ms.
It's
Nancy.
just hard for me to believe that 27,000 gallons come through.
I
Why
know
did
it.
you change the meter?
I
If
didn't-
there was nothing wrong with it.
We didn't change the meter, we just changed the head, the
Yeah.
part that actually transmits the
And
signal.
we'll let,
We didn't change the actual meter.
should we have Renee come up then and tell us what happened on this? Well, I mean, how did you handle what, was it?
Well, like Cal, for example, when Cal had a high water bill about 3 months ago, sometimes
Allen?
it would not data log neither. His would not data log.
The
Older meters won't.
Yeah, a lot of the older meters just will not data log. So like Cal's, for example,
Right.
but you can take that water bill, which has your previous and present reading, and you can look at that head and then readings line up. I mean, there's no really way to, you know, rig that meter. It's in glass, them numbers, and so if that head's got your reading on it and that bill and they match, then, you know, that's pretty well, we can send the meter off to be tested. It's $150. If it comes back good, it's on the customer. And I'll be honest, I haven't seen, you know, in the 7 years, any.
And then there was another high bill in a next door neighbor to Commissioner Allen, and that they paid their bill outright.
Yeah, and see, like his would data log, but just some won't, and we're trying to change the heads out and won't data log.
Now there was a high bill on both sides of Commissioner Allen.
Well,
Come to think of it.
and after doing some investigation, we figured out what we thought was the problem. Mr. Bivey had a faucet across the street, and some of the fishermen and the kayakers were apparently leaving it on. And there's a possibility that mine happened when a fellow turned a hose on and didn't see any water coming out because it was going back to the back of the house. And so I went out there one day and saw some water, and I think that's probably mine. But it was the same thing. I felt the same way out of, you know,
Well, I mean, I've walked all over the property.
60,000 gallons.
I even called my landlady and asked her, when she was down last month, did she leave something on? And she said, no, I'm not even hooked up to the water over there. You are. I said, okay. You know, I crawled under the house, I've done everything. You know, I cannot figure out where 27,000 gallons of water went.
And what is her bill then, Ms. Renee?
I think it was about 200 and something.
It's $218, I paid $50.
And was any of the sewer reduced?
She doesn't have sewer. And we offer a payment plan, waived late fees till it's
Right.
paid for, you know, really
That's right.
work
I
with
mean,
Uh-huh.
they've been helpful, it's just hard for me to
Yeah.
comprehend, where did 27,000 gallons of water
I
go?
know.
Hello?
Okay, so it's at the pleasure of the board, and we've got two more behind this one. Whatever y'all feel like you want to do. Commissioner Massey has suggested to listen to all of them before we make a decision. How do y'all feel?
That's a good idea.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so we'll just,
Thank you.
just hear you. Okay.
Did you want to look at the histories or? No?
Not really. I mean, I
Okay.
can get that from Renee.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Okay, so then the next one is Miss Donna Hahn. You're not Donna? Oh, I hope your last name is Hahn.
No, actually, my wife's last name is, well, now it's Smythe, but,
Okay,
It's actually-
use your microphone, and you're Alan Smythe, you said?
Al Smythe.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
hi.
It's a mic up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. No, actually, I was just, it's my parents, they're getting ready to retire down here, but the hose going to the bottom of the soil we cracked, my wife and I are in there painting. We have 80,000 gallon bill. And I'm only here because they're here once a month. obviously there's a minimum, a gallon amount that is allotted for each house. What is it, 6,000 gallons a month?
We don't have that anymore.
Okay, well, anyway, once a month, at a minimum, I was hoping, obviously I understand there's a sewer, that kind of thing. We had 88,000 gallons. It was the plastic fitting on the bottom of it. It was from a Sunday to a Friday. We come back. The amount of damage that occurred is actually substantial. I mean, I actually didn't think hardwood floors could do what they've done. But between the damage that was done from the hose that had burst, that is almost like salt and wound when I got the water bill. I was like, all right, $1,000 water bill. Got about $5,000 in interior damage. Hopefully there's something, I mean, especially with a house they come down like once a year. We pay the minimum every month. I was just looking for some kind of, something. I have a $1,000 water bill, 88,000 gallons, 0 sewer used.
And one thing, did you discount?
I think I have discounted the sewer
Yes,
on that one.
it was. Okay, and I don't know how to stress, and we put suggestions on the water bills all the time, and always we're stressing for folks to turn their water off at the main when they leave. Sometimes when we go to Tallahassee for the day, we turn the water off, or we turn it off at the toilets because they just.
Well, sure. I fixed an enormous hole in my front yard from where the water main, not on my end, on the water department's end. I have a sinkhole that the bulk of you could get in, but I fixed on my own. I mean, I'm not looking for a handout.
But I think the water department will come and, for the snowbirds and turn the water off, the main. So, we'll work with you, but, I don't know what to say here on this one either. And it was a faulty piece on your toilet.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, I walked into several inches of standing water. I actually didn't even know hardwood floors could.
Oh, that was one of the worst of me.
Actually, yeah, it was about 8.5 inches across and 13 inches tall. And I should photograph it. It's substantial. And it's just a $1,000 water bill.
It's awful, isn't it? It's terrible. One thing that makes the water bill so high, folks don't understand it, is the Water Management District mandated that we have no more minimum usage, like you referred to 6,000. It was 3, no more of that. And our rates are on a tiered rate. They increase every 3,000 gallons. The price per 1,000 gallons goes up, and that is to promote water conservation. And so once you use 3,000 and then 6,000, the rate goes up and up and up. And when does it cap, Ms. Keisha? It's 9,000, 10,000. So after 10,000, it's a high rate per 1,000 gallons, but it really, it's really high. And that's what makes it that way. It's almost like capitalized interest in a way. So I don't know if we're going to go ahead, or y'all have any questions for Mr.
We have
Smiley?
one more to go.
Do you have any questions for Mr. Smiley?
No.
Okay.
If I understand it, it was a broken hose on your side of the meter.
Yeah, actually, I paid on my own pocket. I wish I had the knowledge I did now when it was done last, but when they went in and put in the new meters and they used the PVC junctions, actually one of those broke, and out of my pocket I paid. I mean, I wish I wouldn't have, but I did. It was on my side of the meter, but I understand that. Like I said, I was just here because it was a $1,000 water bill, and I was just hoping for some kind of relief.
But that water didn't go through the sewer system.
No, not that one, or more than that in my house.
Do you have any homeowners insurance on that building?
No, sir.
No insurance?
I just don't want to be disrespectful. in
No,
any way.
everything's fine.
Good.
Okay, thank you. All right then, we're going to go through sewer. And then our next person will be a representative from the Love Center Church. And good evening, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Robert Davis. I'm the pastor of the Love Center Church in And somehow I wish my story was better than theirs, but mine's is worse. And it really almost makes me want to cry when I think about it, but I'm here to ask for whatever relief or assistance we can get. Ironically, what happened, I did not know about this until I received a call from the city, I guess after they received the reading from the meter in January. And I thought that was bad. When she called and told me that the reading at that time was showing 72,000 gallons and a bill of $723. Only to find out that, I guess at the time that the reading, that I got the call, that was somewhere, I guess, between the readings and the most recent bill, which was for the month, the reading that was taken in February. That total bill itself is almost 900 with the reading of 101,430 gallons. With those two bills combined in 2 month time, you're looking at almost 173,000 gallons. Now, what I did find out, and I don't know when it happened or how it happened, other than there's a old building that's on the church property that's connected to the water that the previous occupants used to use the building, and we never, since we moved in, we never disconnected the water. And the PVC pipe that runs up under the old house is high above the ground. And when I went to check it, the water line had broken. Now I know that there, and I have a picture, there are different lively creatures that, in fact, I took a picture if you want to see this, of one of the animals that was in the, next to the house, one of the friendly coyotes of Carrabelle. So I can't say that, I don't know whether this is how it got broken or not, but it is evident that with some creature, something went up under that to hit the line and break it. So I'm just here appealing for some type of assistance. We are a small church, and not that we're trying to get out of paying, but to have to pay close to $1,800 for water and sewer for a small church where most of the members are on fixed income, it's a bit difficult. So any assistance that we can get with this, we really would appreciate it. Now, we're willing to work with any type of payment plan that can be given. As I was thinking today, a payment plan for us may take 2 years. So, you know, whatever assistance we can get to help resolve this. Because normally our water bill monthly is like $42, $45 what we've been paying ever since we've been there. So my appeal to you as commissioners, and I know what it feels like to sit where you are, because I myself was a commissioner in Apalachicola for 8 years. So I know the difficulty in facing the decision with people like me coming before you asking for relief. So all I'm doing is asking. Whatever assistance you can give us, we really appreciate it.
Okay, all right. Pastor Davis, did Renee adjust on that amount that you told us? Did she adjust on the sewer part? Had she taken the sewer amount off of that?
For 1 month, if I'm not mistaken, it's just 1 month has been adjusted. The first month, yes.
And then when did Miss Renee first call you?
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, because I work until I said, it was in February. Oh, that was January.
On the 17th
Of what day? A
of
month?
January 17th.
January.
Okay, but then another bill,
On January 20th, I'm sorry, she called, and he asked us to go shut the meter off.
in January.
Yes.
Did we shut the meter off?
Yes, we shut the meter off, but when from the time we read it, the water went through it, and then we went back out, and more water went through it by the time we turned it off. So that's why you got the 2 months.
What I found out, because of the nature of where it was busted, water was going at full force. So I don't know how long it had been that way. tell by 24 hours for X number of days, quite a few gallons go through in the daytime with it full force, so.
You have any insurance on that building?
No,
No.
no insurance.
But they can all be set up on a payment plan. Now, Miss Renee or Keisha, is there have their sewer been, on the Love Center, has the sewer been reduced?
We automatically waive we don't waive the sewer, but we give them an average for the past 6 months. And adjust the sewer part of it. We can't adjust the water.
And what's their bill on, and then after all of the adjustments and the late fees?
Well, they haven't got the new bill yet.
I just got a mail yesterday.
Oh, very good.
Yes, and it hasn't been adjusted yet, so.
What does
And
that
this-
bill say?
The balance, $1,478.79.
Well, there'll be some come off that, when the sewer adjustment is made.
Probably about another $200 will come off of that.
Something like that. Donna, Al Smythe, your bill, has the sewer bill been adjusted completely?
I think I did.
Yes, it was adjusted as well.
Okay. And then, Ms. Messick has no sewer, so. And you're right, it's very difficult because we have folks coming in here several times a year, asking the same thing, and whatever we do sets a precedent. So it makes it, we have to know if we're ready and prepared to do this for everyone. That's the main item, when you make a judgment on something like that, then you know you've got to do it for the next one coming down the road.
They're gonna adjust the sewer part of it out, and then Renee's gonna set y'all up a payment plan. That's about all, I think that's all we can do. Because otherwise, people, if you don't check your water, I mean, if you hear your toilet running, you have to fix it.
Right, well, for us,
Not until after you
I'll-
get working.
It seems to me like for the Love Center and Mr. Smythe, they weren't there.
right, we normally at the church maybe 2 or 3 times a weekend. Where this week was, it was on the very back of the building where the wood here goes. The water, if it was perhaps coming toward the front of the yard, I probably would have seen it because I'm there 2 or 3 times a week in and out. But this is on the back side and the hill there where the wooded area is, so unless someone specifically go back there, you wouldn't have seen it because the water was shooting toward the wooded area.
It's Miss Daisy's old grocery store, Olivia.
And I mean, it would just be, if folks could just turn off their water at the main, when you know you're not gonna be there, that really helps to stop any leaks from getting out of hand. It's awful.
Brother, in the back, did you have something?
No,
Oh, okay, you just waving at me. Okay.
All right then, so, do we have any suggestions here?
Well, the general way we do it is to adjust the sewer if it wasn't. We know it didn't go through the sewer and then set up a payment plan.
And I mean, right now, we have 2 commissioners sitting on this board that are on payment plans, right now. And then I just showed you the 2 bills, the big bills I had to pay back years ago, and it didn't take me but those 2 bills, and I learned.
It's sad and it's hard to deal with, but, it's just about the only option we have because it goes into the financial pages and that's got a balance and somehow you got outgoing, you got to have income. Or we get trouble.
Down at the overside were there, wasn't hard to get to the church.
That's right, and Renee does do that. She'll set up a payment plan that, that they can, yes. They
And
can-
waive the late fee so it won't get no late fee till it's paid off.
Mr. Davis, I guess maybe y'all put together a big old fish fry or something other than raise some money for it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, yes, sir.
And I don't know if you know Mr. Doc that lived right there, Classy, Brinkley, what was her name?
Lowry.
Yeah, no, Mr. Doc's mother. Francis Brinkley. Doc was living in, and he had a water main, well, actually, a root grew through his, one of his supply lines to his house there. He didn't know it, he couldn't find it, and his bill was over $1,000, and he was on a payment plan so that he could have water in there. So, you know, it's just, we get these, problems here, you know, all the time, and it's difficult to deal with. We understand. At least 3 of us right here do. We're in the same situation. So you're saying just to, then the general agreement here is for them to have Ms. Renee set everyone up on a payment plan that they can afford.
That's right.
And certainly there'll be no finance charges.
No
And,
late fees.
yeah, no late fees. And their sewer for the Love Center will be adjusted to bring that bill down some. You'll see a significant amount come off of it on the sewer. Do we need to have a motion on that, Mr. Hartman?
You can certainly do that. Yes. Please, do it by
Okay,
Okay, go ahead.
I make a motion for Renee, working with the water and sewer, to adjust their bills appropriately and set them up on a payment plan that they can afford.
And for all 3?
Yes, all
accounts.
3. What's yours account in? It's not your name?
It's my mother, Donna Long.
Oh, okay.
I second that motion.
Okay. All right, so that's a motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Mathis. Is there any discussion? Any further discussion? All right then, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right then. And now we'll move on to old business. Item number 1, discussion and possible action concerning the GUSC lease. So I believe Mr. Hartman has something to report to us on that.
On the GUSC lease, we had provided a 6-month period of time for Mr. McCormick or Gussie to attempt to meet some of the requirements under the lease. That 6 months is up at this meeting. I was asked to contact him and did, and he indicated that he is vacating the property and will be out before the end of the month. So he is currently in progress vacating the property. When I talked with him, asked, and he said he would coordinate with Courtney next week to go out to the property and kind of get an inventory of what's still there and the condition of the property. So we know basically what we're getting back. And that's we've had a lot of back and forth before the extension was provided, but this is a decent conclusion from a legal perspective. It beats having to go through any legal proceedings to take back possession of the property. So my recommendation is to simply allow him to continue to pull out his personal property, and as long as he doesn't damage anything, keeps the place clean, that we make just a smooth transition to city possession. And Courtney can coordinate that.
Is there a date on that?
Before the end of the month, before the end of March.
But you reported to me that he removed the overhead crane.
It is. I asked him that there was some property in there from when he bought the lease from Centennial Bank, And one specific thing that I remembered and somebody mentioned was the overhead crane, but he said it had been removed.
He removed that, he sure did.
Where's it at?
Not on site.
He's been.
I mean, it's not, yeah.
Yesterday or the day before, there was a 18-wheeler out there with a flatbed on it. And there's been trucks coming and going. He's had a yard sale on Franklin County online site all month. And I know some folks that have been going to it, and they bought the Christmas decorations that were out of the GUSC, the safety deposit boxes, the metal beams that belong to green steel, like Mr. Allen uses for his stage. All those metal beams have been removed. The crane has been removed off the ceiling. They've sold everything. Furniture that came out of the GUSC building. And I mean, this man, he's an upstanding fellow, supposed to be. Right, we did know better, and now he's taken a crane out of the building that was in the building that's part of city property. That is gone, and that's a major part of the building.
Is that not criminal?
Yes, that's
Borderline, I would say.
We have proof that crane belongs to the city.
What about the Christmas
All
decorations
of it.
now?
Well, that was in the GUSC building. He just moved all that over there. But the attorney wants us to.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I mean, certainly this is, the city, when, I was talking to Courtney about this briefly, is the lease that was negotiated with GUSC, Matt Matthews handled that. And typically, and I had looked through some paperwork that I had that had been forwarded to me, typically you'll go through a list of what is considered a fixture, what is considered that goes with the building versus, like things like plumbing, electrical, things like that, obviously, hey, that's part of the building, you can't go anywhere with it. And there's no indication any of that's going on. Everything else that was in that building, I had a lot of pictures from some of the criminal stuff that had gone on out there when it was vacant. People were cutting holes in the sides and going in. Is the city, my recollection was, because I didn't handle the last 4 or 5 months of that, but up to that point, the city got anything or had access to get anything out of there that we wanted. So all this material stuff, we passed on that as far as the city. And that is not a fixture. That kind of stuff is just personal property that was in the building. The overhead crane could be a different situation. I mean, it's bolted in, this and that. But how that was treated when we did the lease with Bruce, with Gussie, I mean, that is important. Is whether or not that's considered equipment, that goes with the building, or was installed by a tenant and they can uninstall it.
Well, we know he didn't install it because I have pictures of it the day I toured that building for the first time with him. We know he did not install that equipment. And I just don't understand why he thinks he would, take that equipment and
Well,
most
and
likely
again,
it was sold.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it, that it's gone. I mean, it's not in the building. I asked him specifically, I said, what about that overhead crane? He said, it's not there. So.
Did he say where it was?
No. I can obviously ask, but.
You might not be able to ask because on the way here, I noticed that was having a PODS unit delivered at his residence, and I suspect that he will be moved out shortly.
Probably by midnight, I'm sure.
No, I don't know, but certainly he was going to coordinate with Courtney. But remember, the way typically something like this would work is, the last time the city had full possession of that was when we built it. And then the first tenant came in there, tech support, and I believe they installed that overhead crane. They installed things into that building. And then Centennial Bank took a security interest in the whole thing, and Centennial Bank sold that lease to Gulf Unmanned Systems. And kind of the silver lining in all this is now we are getting the property back free and clear of any leases, liens, anything. So that is the good news. And I hear what you're saying is we want it back. It would be nice to have it back with any extras that were installed in it by tenants. But I'll leave it up to you all to direct me on if we want to chase after anything or do anything like that.
So then what I'm understanding Mr. Hartman would say, but don't let me put words in your mouth, is that the city is not out money for the crane. The crane was installed by a previous tenant, to the first tenant. So the city has not put money out for the crane. But the crane was part of the building and part of the lease whenever the gentleman took the lease. And we all knew that. But now, for some reason, he decided that it was his right to take the crane, just on his own. So, and I just, it just needs to be out there that we thought we were dealing with an upstanding person in the first place, but we don't know what to expect. Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I understand what you're saying about the crane, with the exception of, was that crane looked like it was installed during the time that building was manufactured. Is that correct?
I don't know. I mean, could Courtney or Mr. Hartman was any of us, I know I wasn't. Did you go out there? Who was on board when that happened?
I was on board.
Uh-huh.
Tony Attella with the egg support, Green Steel Homes installed the crane.
Okay.
It did not come as part of the
Every
building.
part of the building.
Okay. He's the gentleman that was out there and took the crane.
Okay.
I personally talked to him a couple of days ago. But I didn't know he was taking the crane at that time. I just had a conversation with him out there. And he had rented a crane, mobile crane from Tallahassee to come down and take things out of the building, but I didn't know he took the crane that was installed in the building out.
From the egg support? A couple of days ago?
He was in town, Keisha seen him.
I've run into him too.
Yeah, I talked to him.
So what was he out? They're not supposed to get nothing out of it.
How did he get access? I mean, you wouldn't know, but I'm just
I
saying,
assume
how would that?
He's the one who bought it. If he bought it from Bruce.
But how did he get access to the building?
GUSC has possession of that building. They're still
So-
Bruce sold it back to him.
All right.
He probably sold it back to him.
He doesn't.
I told y'all way a long time ago.
He says he will be out by the end of this month, by the end of March. He's out.
But meanwhile, when can the city administrator with a police officer, the chief, or somebody go over there and take some pictures and see what's going on? How can, we got.
When I talked to him on the phone, he said that he would coordinate with Courtney to come by and do a site visit next week. If he doesn't coordinate or doesn't respond to calls, they would just go over there.
I'd be going tonight.
I know it, and I might drive by.
Pat, can you take the mayor out there?
There probably won't be nothing left there by the end of the month.
Oh, what I said, y'all better go tonight.
I'm not
Okay.
Be lucky the wires left there.
All right, Mr. Hartman, you're not happy, are you?
No, I mean, the thing is, I mean, look, we weren't involved in the, when that building was built, back when Tony Pallet Export took it on. That was 06 timeframe in there. And, we have a lease. I can go through the lease once again and determine, I mean, it would not be unusual for someone who wants to get into manufacturing things or whatever else to put heavy equipment into a building and expect to take it with them when they leave. I mean, that isn't unusual.
No, that's
But
not what you did.
when we got it, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we start looking at things in the building as ours, which, hey, we are the owner of the building. We're just leasing it. So I get where we're coming from, but if the lease says that was ours, then we have a problem. If the lease does not say it's ours, then we got an argument.
Well, I'm sure that Hex Support didn't have a lease on it if they got it 3 days ago, because they ain't been in the building.
Oh, you mean Mr. Atala?
Yeah.
So.
Right, but I mean, if it is Gussie's crane, not the city's, then he can do as he pleases with it. But we don't know that. I mean, it may or may not be.
We have to, so
Well, let me
we-
ask you this.
We have to review the lease to know that.
Would the crane be worth the lawsuit to get it back?
I don't know the first thing about cranes, but I can find out. I mean, that's the thing.
You know,
Yeah.
a lot of times you spend $10,000 for $1,000 piece of equipment.
Yeah, but it wouldn't, all the pieces and parts, bolts, whatever are gonna be, you won't get all of that back. Mr. Miller.
Yes, ma'am, a crane of that magnitude is worth many $1,000s.
Hundreds of thousands.
What type of crane was it?
It's normally, I didn't look at the construction of it that closely because there was nobody there disassembling it at the time I was there. But normally those things are mounted into the foundation of a building like that. That was a huge crane.
That's hundreds of
That's
thousands
a
of
huge
dollars.
crane.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money.
Not-
There's a crane about a quarter that size across the road in forestry shop, and I paid for it when I worked there, not out of my pocket, but out of state's money. But it's built into the foundation, and it was pretty valuable.
There was a bankruptcy, when I was prosecuting the eviction on Hexport, there was bankruptcy associated with that. There was lien holders on all the equipment out there. I want to say that the crane there was a lien holder on the crane. I think they fell away because it wasn't, for them, it wasn't worth, I think, repossessing. But they would have, I think if it was, they would have come get it. But I'm not, that's years and years and years, that's old.
But Mr. Atala would be beholding to the lien holder. He would be responsible to the lien holder.
I mean, the fact that Mr. Atala probably isn't, I mean, he could have sold it, it's gone, he could have sold it to anybody. But the fact that probably Atala has a use for it, probably because that's what he does, I guess. The fact that he sold it to him is just funny because he was the prior tenant.
Well, ironic.
Ironic, yeah.
Yeah, more than, if I can, just in conversation I had, I'm just sharing with you. In conversation I had with Mr. Ortillo, that crane, it makes sense now because he had Jackson Cook crane, mobile crane out there, and I couldn't quite understand why he had a crane of that magnitude out there to load the things that he was loading in box trailers. And then he told me that he has a business now just north of Dothan in a building about that size. So it makes sense to me that that's where your crane's going to.
That's where it's at.
I'll take a note, but it sounds civil to me, and I'm not gonna get into that right now.
Where we go from here?
Well, we could find out. I have photos of the crane. I didn't know that it was in the foundation too. I've got photos of the overhead part. We can take them, try to figure out what.
It's not in the foundation.
Okay.
Probably
It
folds it down.
It was a beam that runs across the top that had a rolling hoist, in a sense, on it, that just lifted those old houses and moved them around. They lift walls into place and dropped them, so it was a detached beam and a rolling mechanism that did that. So it's not it's not.
I didn't say it was. I said I didn't look at it, but I didn't. Yeah.
They said, they were talking about being attached to the ground.
Well, it must have been on a substantial roller frame then.
Well, it's like a big, I mean, I know it because I worked out there.
Yeah.
Designing.
That's correct.
So it's basically, if you can imagine, a big giant I-beam that stretches between rafters and are clamped around the bottom of the I-beam are two rollers, like a closet, right? And then there's a machine there that basically had a big button that they could push down to the bottom that would just run a chain up and down. I don't think it's really an expensive piece of equipment. Probably the I-beam that held it weighed more and probably cost more than the machine itself.
That man, I'm so glad to be rid of him.
Yeah, we could look at the pictures and kind of try to get an idea of what it was valued at, and if it's something that's, way out there, like $100,000, maybe, but if it's not much, like you say, 10,000 or 15, maybe it's not worth
Cost
it.
you more than
But
what
then,
it would be worth.
we know what we were dealing with, we do know that, so. I would suggest that the city administrator get out there as soon as possible. I mean,
In the morning.
isn't there, yes.
Yeah. I believe under the lease, we have the right to inspect.
And
Oh,
take
yeah.
the chief with you. And we'll, maybe ask the police department to patrol that, 2 or 3 times a day to see if there's
Some
any.
pictures of what's in there.
If they can get in, they might not be able to get in, but patrol it several times, to see if there's activity, if there's activity, or, when activity comes back to the, Gulf Unmanned, to the headquarters down here at the residence, to get in contact with him as soon as possible to get in there. That gate needs to be repaired probably as soon as possible. It looks like was run over now a couple of times, and it's been pulled back to the side. And one side is still closed, the south side of it, I guess it's the south side, is still closed, but we're gonna have to have that repaired right away. Like immediately.
That's the bad thing about it, we know it.
Mhm. So is there what else should we discuss here? Wait for this fella to fly the coop and
Yep,
take
and we'll take
possession.
back possession of the property, and that's a better ending than expected.
Yes, it is.
So he has to March 31st?
Yep. If not earlier.
Well, do we want to give him an earlier time? I want to ask Mr. Miller a question.
I have one more comment.
Okay.
Hey, just to make you feel a little bit better about the situation, I know because I was there when Mr. Atella had to vacate, there was some vandalism. Someone had gone out there and stripped all the wires out of that building. Mr. Bruce paid for putting the wires in that building. That building is in better shape now without a crane 100 miles away from it than it was when you moved there. So in the end, you have a building that someone can use to move into tomorrow because of that. So I mean, that doesn't apply to anything else.
Yeah. Have you been out there this past week or 10 days?
I knew Tony was in town to buy.
No, but not Tony, but have you been out there to the GUSC building on Airport Road the past week or 10 days, since they've had folks in there buying doors and such?
I drove out and met Tony and went to lunch with him. I knew he was in town, and I knew he was buying, just like Tony.
But have you been out to the, okay, you haven't been to the building out there on John McKenna
No.
Road? Okay.
I mean, I can tell you, I mean, during my discussion with Mr. McCormick, he indicated that they had 3,500 square feet of administrative offices, tile floors, drywalled up in the meeting rooms and offices. I was talking to Mayor earlier, said there's no roof.
No, there's no
It's
roof.
open to the, it's not heated and cooled. And what else? Oh yeah, the plumbing and wiring was all upgraded in place. So,
If that was done, just as long as they don't sell it out of there before we get possession of it. That's what we need to go there and take a look. And he knew it, Mr. McCormick and I toured that building for the first time for both of us on the same day. We took pictures together. I saw all of that. And that was his choice. We discussed it many times that he didn't have to do that. He wanted to do it.
He had investors.
He took the risk. That was a risk that he took, so. Do we want to move forward then? Is there any motion or, Mr. Mellinger, I had a question. Did you go out there to that yard sale that they were having?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay. How did the building look to you on the inside?
I had a little comment about the offices.
Okay.
I actually inspected those. Did someone else look at those?
no, that was just what I was passing along is what Mr. McCormick, when I asked him about the crane, he said it had been sold. I said that could be a problem, and he then talked about the good things that they'd done out there, the improvements and this and that. The condition was substantially better than when he received it. So that was
At the time I was out there, the offices were still intact, and the furniture was still inside, and it did have a ceiling in it.
Oh, it did?
And it had an air conditioning unit sit on top of it. I would not personally have set it up the way they did, but yeah, it had 2 conference rooms, think 6 offices, really nice.
When was that?
I was there Saturday.
Okay. And there was a ceiling on it. The last time I
No,
was,
let me repeat, let me correct that. I was there on Friday
uh-huh,
of last week.
all right.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a liability for the city to get rid of it. It's inside your large building, unless they've done it. I have no idea. Now, you asked the question, if I inspected the building, I actually just walked through and did a quick, I didn't go around and inspect every detail, like I did not the crane.
Yeah.
I just
wanted to
visualized,
saw
looked
it.
across it.
Yeah. If you were
And,
inside there.
They were disassembling, he had quite a crew there, Mr. Ortillo did. He and I talked for a while about various things. But anyway, they were disassembling a lot of these rolling shelves, steel shelves, and which Steve would know more about it than I do.
Right, I mean, I saw the Facebook post that's been on the Franklin County Yard Sale now for a month.
Yes.
That had the rolling sheds or whatever else to.
Yeah, bins of screws and all kinds of plywood,
Yeah,
all
and
kinds of
I
things.
think the other thing that Mr. Acella may have taken, and I don't know, are the truck beds that were sitting out in the yard that were specifically designed to carry it in modular units.
Now, he specifically told me he was taking both of those and the truck.
Yeah, and those may be things that, yeah, the truck used to, that old Ford
But who
truck
sold them to him?
used to be him. Well, I would assume that Mr. Bruce sold it.
I have no idea.
But that's between him and Mr. Bruce. I mean, they're businessmen, they think, you know.
Well, any way you look at it, we get back more than we had.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Comments he made on.
Can I say something about
Okay,
that?
yes, sir, please.
You know, the city did not make out on this deal or the deal before. There was a lot of jobs that were supposed to come and bring a lot of opportunity to this county, this city, and it didn't.
Never did.
It never did. The city lost a lot more money than what it's gained from the little bit that's been
For
done.
years and years of no jobs.
Right.
No
And that-
opportunity.
And that has a huge effect on the economy, the economic impact.
That is the only building like that in the 4-county area of McCullough, Franklin, Liberty, and Gulf. There's no building like that in those 4 counties. And there it's, set empty for all these years. Of course, Centennial had their hands on it for a while, but then, we had someone who said they were going to do something. I think we need to be more careful next time, do some more in-depth investigation. We can just use this as a learning tool here. Yes, sir, Mr. Miller.
Just comment to Dan. Dan, he did make a comment to me that he had to be out by dark February 28th, was his comment to me. I assumed that was when he was releasing it, but that's what he said to me. I don't know what has happened since then. I haven't been out there.
I mean, from a legal perspective.
I was just gonna suggest if the lease is done, and the city, if the lease is over and the city's done, I'd secure the
Let me
site.
tell you though, from a legal perspective, the lease is not done. He still has it, he still has possession of it. We would have to evict him if he doesn't leave voluntarily. There's a big value in having someone leave voluntarily versus spending months
Now,
on this.
is there any paperwork we need?
I will make sure that when he
We need
turns over the
documentation.
keys, and I'll document that he's turning over possession of that property to the city. So there is still a cooperation component to this.
All right. Do we need a motion or just directing Ms. Courtney to get out there as soon as possible, as she can, get access to it with the chief, take the camera, and then you'll go ahead and draft up some documentation that he's turning over the premises back to the city?
Yep.
Is that all right?
It's fine, whatever you got in there, I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Rather than-
Well, all right, well, let's have a motion to that. Commissioner Allen wants to motion all of those things that was just said.
I'll second.
Okay, so that's a motion and a second. And that wasn't too well worded, but do you understand it, Ms. Keisha?
I never heard a date.
A date?
Um,
Oh, yes.
Just for you to get out, just for Courtney to get out there and inspect it tomorrow.
As soon as possible, tomorrow, at least the outside. But you can't get inside. Knock on Mr.
But
McCormick's
that would
door.
include giving an extension of time to get his property out by the end of the month.
Yes, I mean, he is the current lease holder, he has possession of that property.
So 30-day notice.
And he, at the rate that everything's going, I mean, under the lease, and I can lay this out for everyone, but obviously tonight, the concern was if everything was just business as usual out there, and we would have to give him notice of default and an opportunity to cure, and that would start all the timelines running. What he's verbally on the phone said, hey, I will be out by the end of March. That's better than anything under the lease. Any remedy under the lease. And again, yeah, so.
That'd save a lot of legal fees.
Oh, yeah.
So you saying if he hands us the keys, it's better than us going through the
Absolutely.
legal system, trying to evict?
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Avoid the legal system at all costs.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Yes.
Do we want to give him March the 30th?
Let's put, I mean, I would say this be on the agenda at the next meeting, and if it's not resolved, we take action.
Okay.
All right, that's what we'll do.
All right then. All right, we'll move forward.
Comment, one comment.
Yes, sir.
Since there's a vandalism history when the building is empty, I would suggest the city get some sort of security cameras or some kind of monitoring out there, because once it's vacated again, it's gonna be empty and you might lose your wiring again, so you might wanna think about
I
that.
couldn't agree more.
Yes, I agree with that.
They stole brakes, which were part of the, you remember, Frank?
Yeah.
They stole brakes. I mean, the price of steel at that time up at Delosia was, you couldn't park your car long enough to build it. They ripped all those wires out of that, they practically ruined the place, and that was part of one of the things that put Tony out of business, was people running out there stealing stuff, so I would suggest somebody watch it.
So once the building's vacated, do we need to put some kind of security system in there, so if somebody's breaking in, it's gonna set alarm off the police department, they're gonna respond to it. So they're gonna strip every bit of that wire out.
Yeah.
Anything we any value, they gonna, what he don't take, they'll get. So we might need to get one of these security systems. I'm moving slow, so. Yeah, I'm getting too quick. Yeah, they will get it.
Okay. All right. Well, but we've got to wait till the next,
Once he vacated, yes.
okay, so then, Commissioner Mathis reminded me, we had a motion and a second, motion by Commissioner Allen, a second by Commissioner Massey. To move forward on the directive to the administrator and the attorney. Is there any more discussion on that? Okay, and all in favor? Aye. And any opposed? And then that motion carries. All right, and we'll move on to the next item, and this is another long one. We'll try to move forward through it right quick. Discussion and possible action concerning relocation of City Hall. And I'll just say, on February the 15th, we had a workshop, and Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Walden, and myself attended. Donnie Gay from Centennial Bank came over and talked to us about funding. It didn't sound so bad. And then we once again reviewed all the offers and the considerations to date. We had an ad placed in the paper that after a certain date we weren't going to take any more offers, so that right now we're not taking any more offers. And we directed Dan to continue communications with the school board. He's going to have a report on that here shortly. We talked about the old Jackson property, right there, the old Flying Monkey building, the old high school or school there on 98, and we pretty much eliminated that. The Franklin County Senior Citizens Center offer, we eliminated that. The Carrabelle Plaza Butler property, we did not vote on it, but we recommended to eliminate these properties. Highway 98 and Northeast 12th Street Bragdon property offered at $50,000. We still want to keep that on the list of options. The old water plant location on Southeast Avenue C owned by the city, we want to keep that on the list of options. Don't get scared, Ms. Tamara, we're just going to say the old City Hall building, we're going to keep that on the list of options. I mean, it's a city-owned property, and it was advised by the accountant, the CPA. The mini mall building for lease or purchase, that's still hanging in there. The Century 21 building, their rent was too high, so we're going to put that at the bottom of the list. Oh, Miss Brenda's restaurant, it's sold, so we're taking that off. We eliminated that anyway. We talked about remodeling the bus barn back there. That's still hanging in there. And then now we have another option that I asked Dan if we could bring it up, and he thinks maybe we can go ahead and bring it up. The Hexaport building could be used as temporary offices for the staff. We would have to get out there and take a look at it, and we would have to set up a way for sewer and water collections on a temporary basis. Folks might not want to drive out that far. You know, we have a couple of, like, continue to leave this one out here. What's that called? Iron Horse or some type of, what do you call that?
The payment drop.
Yeah, and put another one maybe at the old City Hall building, something like that. So, but that's just,
And that is a good idea.
that's just an option. And then we want, and I can tell you, Courtney and I met with Mr. Gaddis of Gaddis Heating and Air. He's the one that works in our system. He's got some suggestions, and the simplest suggestion that he has will heat, cool only these offices, but not the hallway, not the, it will cool Miranda, Renee, Keisha, Courtney, the police department, and it will run about $35,000. And he suggests to cool the nest, 2 10-tons, run about $15,000 each, and we need an engineering to design how those would be installed, the ductwork. So Courtney and I talked, and if we had to put a 10-ton out of the GUSC building to cool those offices, if we wanted offices to stay in there, that would be a better investment on property that we were going to keep than put it into something we're going to tear down or something that we're leasing. So we'll let Mr. Hartman tell us about the school board discussion.
No, with the school board, just ongoing discussion, I think it'll come up in their, just for discussion at the school board at their next meeting, was just running through options if we move sooner rather than later, because we historically told them that we would give them a longer lead time to make arrangements on the nest, or to work together to make arrangements on the nest. And if the commission says, yeah, the green steel building makes sense to have someone there so it's not getting vandalized and being used and as a temporary facility while we try to figure out how to deal with this building from demolition and that sort of thing, as well as a permanent location for a new city hall. I brought that up, and we talked about the field house and the bus barn, and that's what they'll discuss a little bit, Ms. Sanders tells me, at their next meeting. So, because that could happen, if everything moves according to the plan of the schedule we were just talking about under item 1, it could happen a lot sooner and solve the summer problem that we're going to have here at City Hall.
Okay. I did, now, you know, you're talking about a lead time to the school board. I went in September under directions and approval of the board and talked to the school board, and somewhat gave them notice that we were gonna have to do something, and that was in September. And I can look up, I don't know exactly.
You know,
what
like,
date,
we've
but I
sent
can
them
look-
letters and everything before
They
that.
know, they're aware. And then I also want to say that I asked Donnie Gay from Centennial when he was here at the workshop, if we were to get a loan to build a new building or to buy a used building, could that loan also include demolition of this building? And no, it would have to be two separate loans, and trying to get funding to demo this building might be a little more complicated than getting, because then you have nothing left. There's no equity or no collateral. You get $200,000 or $250,000 to demo something, and there's no collateral except the land it sits on, and the land is not valued at that. But for a loan for a new building would not be as difficult to secure.
Do we know what kind of lead time the Camp Gordon Johnson's gonna need?
That's a really good point.
Gonna be there?
No, someone does need to talk to them.
Yeah.
And when I say this, is the commission, we had our workshop, but we have spent 2 years talking about this, and we really aren't any further along as to whether it's temporary or permanent, where we're going to. We have a lot of options on the table, but, that's a decision that you all will have to make, but it's, in my experience, it's helpful to make a move.
Camp
One way or the other, just
yeah,
get moving
Camp
in
Gordon
one
Johnston
direction.
is moving right along on their building. It's really, maybe we should go out there and take a look at that building while it's still open, and I've kind of been watching the construction. I haven't been on the site, but we could have, and watched it. It's coming along fast. That's something maybe that we might want to consider. It's, 380?
It's, I think is it 4,000, but 3,000 of it is for the curator. I
But
think
it's 4,000 total square feet, 381 or something, I have the price at home. I have all the stuff at home on that building.
Oh, the cost.
So it might give you an idea, but of course, there's no build out on the inside. So we would have to give you an idea how fast a building like that would go up in a metal building. So it's just something to take into consider if you're out that way, pull in and take a look at it. So I would suggest that we have a workshop in March to discuss our options here. We'll know a little bit more if we have a workshop later in March, say, maybe the third week in March, to discuss this again. It's kind of getting late. We'll know more what's happening with the, possible location. Maybe we'll hear back from the school board on their meetings. The attorney has reported that we're wanting to move forward.
That we need to decide whether we're moving forward in which direction.
Yeah.
And then but I told them that was a possibility, so.
Oh, hex support? You did?
I did.
Uh-huh. All right. What do y'all
We need to
think?
wait till Mr. Coleman's vacated that building before we have this meeting. We're gonna discuss possibly using that building.
Have it on next.
I would be
I
against
said
that,
we're
so
not
I'm gonna wait
accepting
some.
it.
We should have that next time.
We put out, we're not.
You
gonna
can still
accept any
discuss
more
it.
options.
You won't be able to take any action.
So if that's not engraved in stone, we can always advertise, but we were being so bombarded that we couldn't move forward on anything.
Just add another couple to it.
And then, what did you say, Commissioner Nancy?
I looked at him.
We gotta get out of here.
He's already had his yard sale. And his pond was delivered today. He's getting.
Oh, we've got to move forward here now.
Call the commissioner.
All right, we need a suggestion on a workshop, or do we just want to wait until next month and have it on the agenda again?
We can have it on the agenda. If anything real urgent comes up, we do a special meeting. We might even be able to tag it on to that's only the way.
Yeah, okay, all right, then, we won't do that. And we do have a special meeting next week, okay, and then our CRA meeting. All right, Does anyone want to make a motion on this item or anything? Or I don't see anything we need a motion on. Is there any more discussion on it at this point? Okay, then we'll move forward to an item that was tabled from last month. Item 3, discussion of possible action concerning the code enforcement officer. It was tabled last month, but I'm just going to, you were absent, but I want to review, we did discuss a few items. I just want to discuss that, let Commissioner Massey know that we reminded everyone that we have a $10,000 line item for a part-time code enforcer. We talked that we could use a subcontractor from another city or county that's already trained and certified. We mentioned that the police department is currently enforcing the codes and the debris ordinance, and the police department would, if they continue to enforce the codes, they'll need some training on the rights of property owners regarding code enforcement. We mentioned that we need to amend our land development regulations regarding the special master. We have a special master assigned now, but they're supposed to be living in the city limits. It's difficult to find a qualified volunteer who would want to assign fines to the neighbors and families. An LDR, what does it say about a special master? How is that supposed to be conducted? So we'll understand.
And I didn't research it for the purpose of this, but I'm generally familiar with it, is we have been, the special master would suffer the same problem we have our code enforcement officer. What we're doing now is opting to proceed by statute straight to county court. And the special master process is like setting up our own little court system. We're just not set up for it. I mean, it was a good idea, but we have a hard enough time getting a quorum for P&Z and this and that. The special master is basically a judge, and we haven't had the first. I think Jan Stellmeyer was our special master at one point. But we suffer from the same problem that we do with the code enforcement officer. You're expecting someone local to be basically a local judge on all these issues against their neighbors and this and that. And, you know, maybe someone is willing to serve in that capacity, but it's also an additional expense and everything else. I don't like, I mean, it used to be that the state attorney would pick up our code enforcement stuff, and now it falls on us. But they're not that bad to code enforce those. To go through the county ordinance violation process is not ideal, but it's doable.
Do you have many cases that have to go through the county overall?
We've had two.
Two?
Two over the last 4 years.
Okay.
It's not
All right.
two, they've been in the last 6 months. Yeah. I mean, with the uptick in enforcement, you're going to have an uptick in cases.
So basically, no matter whether we decide to vote yay on a code enforcer or nay, we still need to address the special master and remove that from the LDR. And you said to possibly lay out a schedule of fines for that. Yes, Ms. Keisha?
And I just don't know that 10,000 is enough for a part-time person. It's gonna take about 1,000 just for schooling.
Unless we, well, you and I had talked about that earlier. We said about 2,000.
Yeah, oh yeah, 2,000.
Training, 5 days of training and 1 day exam in a hotel room that's in South Florida somewhere. So, but if we could get someone that's
already
trained, maybe operating in another county that would want to come over here 2 days a week with a goal of just 4 days a month eventually. And it would be, you know, on a right now the code enforcement is complaint driven, but there's complaints coming. Some people are complaining, and then if we code enforce, other people will be complaining. The complainers that we have current right now will stop complaining, and yeah. So we'll just, what do y'all think about it?
Get ready for your telephone to ring off the hook.
Mine rings off the hook all the
Well,
time.
we're talking all of us.
I know it, I need your number so I can get to it then.
I hear about it.
I don't have a phone.
That might be the best way to go. They put it to rest, one way or the other.
Snake cleaning.
Well, we might not start, you know, like that. You could start out with the right of ways and actually like the sidewalk, you know. Could a code enforcer handle something like that? Is that something a code enforcer would do? Parking on the sidewalk?
I don't think that's the code, I think that's more of a law.
Okay,
That's correct.
well, just a question.
What's the ticket for parking on the sidewalk?
It's a non-moving violation, I'm not sure the amount.
I think I got clipped for $50.
It doesn't, you put points on the license or anything.
Well, they parking on the sidewalk right now.
Where at?
I'll tell you in a minute.
Go down Rebel Road.
Drive down Bryan Drive. There's 2 or 3 parked there right now. And I've been in the meeting till 6 o'clock. And I know they're
That'd
parking
be
on
a
the sidewalk.
Cadillac if nothing else.
That's complaint driven. All right, so,
Said many times, wished I still drove a truck, Cadillac wouldn't stay there long.
all right, let's get back to the business at hand, the possible action regarding a code enforcement officer. So, you know, folks would like to have a code enforcement officer, some folks would not. So, we have $10,000 that were set aside, we're halfway into the budget now, just about. It could be done, if we could find someone that was, already trained.
Put it out there and see what come up with.
Who's the code enforcer at Appalachia?
I don't know who it is, but they do have one.
I think that's a good question.
Miss
Lois.
Lois,
Miss Lois.
Wilbur Ballou.
Mm-hmm.
Wilbur Ballou is the code enforcement officer in Appalachia.
is he certified?
I don't know, but he's the code
No
enforcement.
Willard
I bet he
Ballou
is.
person.
You might.
I bet you they've sent him to school and all.
Well, we could find out, and if, did you have a comment, sir?
Yes, ma'am, if you don't mind. Appalachia has a full-time code enforcement.
Yeah.
He's a regular employee, as these ladies saying. I don't know all their details. I would suggest that the city of Carrabelle look at how their code enforcement section is set up. She was on the right track, I think.
So you saying they have one of their city employees,
Full-time.
full-time employees at the code enforcement?
That's correct.
Now that, is his sole duty to do code enforcement?
Yes.
I'd rather not comment. I don't know the details. I just know he's a full-time city employee.
They drive a vehicle that looks just like a police vehicle, but it says code enforcer on there.
As far as I'm aware, he's a full-time code enforcement. That's all he does is code enforcement.
We don't have budget for full-time.
No,
We don't have the,
No.
The gentleman that's code enforcement officer was with their water and sewer department. Wilbur Ballou, I know him pretty well.
yeah. Does he don't work with water sewer no more?
Not to my knowledge. That's the reason why I said I would check. Maybe he's part-time code enforcement and part-time water and sewer. I don't
Mr.
know.
Frank asked Lee tonight.
Excuse me?
I told Mr. Frank he can ask Lee tonight, she's the city administrator.
All
I don't
right.
really know.
Well, how about we proceed and see how Appalachia handles it, and maybe Mexico Beach, Fort St. Joe, if they have, you know, cities that have about the same population as we do and what they do.
I
think it would give
him
them some ideas.
Unless he's changed,
And you don't have to read
he
it.
enforces this one and that one, do whatever we want to do.
I could send something out to all the Northwest Florida clerks,
Okay,
because we have an email chain that we send out.
all right. Thank you, that would be good. And just kind of get an idea of how they handle it, and, you know, I discussed it with Courtney and Keisha, and we think 2 days a week, 1 day to give the citations or to verbal warnings is generally how they start out, and then the next day to do the paperwork. But eventually, you know, some code enforcement needs to be done, but I just don't know if we really need
No.
a full-time code enforcer.
No, we
And
don't.
someone to help the Keisha and the police department, and Courtney. Sometimes the code enforcement is, it gets very difficult. And they spend 3 of them a whole week on it, on one item.
Yeah, you're right, I don't think it needs to be full-time, but I don't think there's enough here to make it full-time.
Not at this point, I mean, it's not not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that. Things could be worse. Things could always be worse. So, we'll, let them report back to us. We'll do some investigation. All of y'all do some investigation on it, if you would. And also go out and see that metal building that Camp Fort Johnson is putting up.
I've seen this tonight.
Okay, so we won't take action on this item tonight. Is that all right? Okay. We'll have it on the agenda again next month, and by the time we decide on it, we'll be in the new budget. We'll have $20,000 for code enforcement. All right.
You got to go 100%.
Okay, folks, commissioners, is there any more? All right, calm down now. Is there any more discussion on anything here tonight? All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, a second, please.
second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Massey, a second by Commissioner Mathis. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay.
Bye.
I guess.
Good.